When the sun rises and the world begins to move, there is a sacred moment, a moment where heaven leans close, waiting for us to speak, to whisper, "Lord, walk with me today," not because God needs the invitation, but because we need the alignment. We need the awareness that the path before us is safer, clearer, stronger, and purposeful when the Lord Himself walks beside us. My friend, today will come with choices, obstacles, voices that distract, and burdens that try to weigh down the heart. And yet, long before you opened your eyes, God was already arranging the strength you would need. He positioned mercy at your bedside, renewed compassion before you even stood on your feet, and placed grace like armor upon your spirit. But this morning prayer, this simple cry, "Lord, walk with me today," is what awakens your soul to His nearness. When you pray this way, you are not asking God to follow you. You are choosing to follow Him. You are stepping into a companionship that transforms ordinary steps into holy ground. You are declaring that you refuse to walk the day in your own wisdom, your own energy, or your own limitations. You are choosing the path of divine partnership. And someone listening right now feels overwhelmed. You're tired. You're stretched thin. You have questions you can't answer and situations you can't fix. But hear this, God never asked you to walk alone. The enemy's greatest strategy is isolation. He wants you to believe no one understands, no one sees, no one cares. But the moment you whisper, "Lord, walk with me today," heaven breaks that lie. That prayer becomes the key that unlocks courage, confidence, and clarity. Stay with me, because what I'm about to tell you is the reason this message must become the foundation of your mornings. When God walks with you, He not only strengthens you, He goes before you. He stands behind you. He surrounds you. He fights battles you never see and protects you from dangers you never knew were forming. Imagine stepping into your morning knowing that every conversation, every decision, every obstacle is filtered through His guidance. Imagine walking into your workplace not with anxiety, but with assurance. Imagine facing conflict with peace instead of panic. That is what happens when you start your day with the presence of God as your companion. So pray boldly, "Lord, walk with me today. Walk into my thoughts and align them. Walk into my decisions and steady them. Walk into my fears and silence them. Walk into my weakness and strengthen it. Walk into my day and lead me through it." And when you pray that way, something shifts. The atmosphere shifts. Your mindset shifts. The way you carry yourself shifts, because you are not stepping into the day as a fragile, overwhelmed, exhausted individual. You are stepping into it as a child of God, accompanied by the King of Glory. Stay with this message. Let it fill you, anchor you, and remind you you were never meant to walk the day alone. God is waiting to walk with you today. When I talk about inviting God into your morning, I'm not speaking of a distant spiritual idea. I'm talking about a real living companionship that begins the moment you whisper, "Lord, walk with me today." I want you to feel this, not just understand it, because so many people wake up and enter the day as if they are stepping onto a battlefield alone. They rise, they rush, they run, and they forget the one who was already waiting beside their bed before their eyes ever opened. But when you open your morning with that invitation, you're not simply praying. You are awakening your awareness to the presence of the Almighty who delights in walking with His children. Now listen closely, because this is where everything changes. You may think God watches from afar, that He loves you but stays somewhere in the distance, observing, evaluating, waiting for you to prove something. But that is not the God who walks with His people. When you say, "Lord, walk with me today," you are stepping into a relationship that is personal, intimate, and deeply intentional. You're not calling out into an empty sky. You're speaking to a God who stands right beside you, ready to guide every step, steady every trembling moment, and strengthen every weakness. And I want you to picture this vividly. Imagine stepping out of your home knowing that you are not stepping out alone. Imagine walking into uncertainty with a presence so strong, so reassuring, that your heart refuses to panic. This is not imagination. It is the reality of those who choose divine companionship. There is something powerful, something deeply comforting when you invite God not just to bless your day, but to walk through it with you. Blessings are wonderful, but companionship transforms you. There are mornings when you wake up weary, mornings when your heart feels heavy, mornings when yesterday's burdens try to climb onto today's shoulders. And on those mornings, your soul needs more than advice, more than knowledge. It needs presence. It needs a shepherd to walk ahead of you, a father to walk beside you, and a defender to walk behind you. When you say, Lord, walk with me today, you're not asking for a moment of comfort. You're asking for an entire day of divine partnership. And that's what makes this prayer so powerful. You see, God doesn't want to be a Sunday memory or a last resort emergency call. He desires to be your companion in the ordinary, the mundane, the routine, and the unpredictable. He wants to walk with you through conversations you fear, decisions you're unsure about, responsibilities that overwhelm you, and opportunities you don't yet see. It is in the walking, step by step, moment by moment, that His presence becomes your confidence. And let me say this clearly, your day changes when your awareness of His presence changes. Suddenly challenges feel lighter because you're not carrying them alone. Suddenly temptations lose their grip because you're not facing them isolated. Suddenly fears grow silent because they cannot outshout the footsteps of the one walking beside you. This is why that morning invitation is so important. It shifts your mindset, rearranges your priorities, and anchors your heart before the world even has a chance to shake it. So when you whisper that simple line, Lord, walk with me today, you are entering a companionship that has the power to transform your entire day from the inside out. When I speak about the strength God provides for the unseen battles ahead, I want you to lean in closely, not casually, not halfway, but with the full attention of a heart that knows life is not gentle every day. Because whether you recognize it or not, every single morning you step onto a landscape filled with challenges, pressures, temptations, and spiritual battles that do not announce themselves before they strike. And yet, before one of those battles ever reaches your path, God has already seen it, measured it, and prepared strength for you to face it. Let me tell you something deeply comforting and incredibly powerful. When you wake up and pray, Lord, walk with me today, you are not asking God to give you strength only for what you know is coming. You're asking Him to fortify you for the battles you don't see, don't expect, and don't even imagine. Life has a way of surprising us, and not always with pleasant things. There are moments when a storm will rise out of nowhere, a problem will appear without warning, a confrontation will happen you didn't prepare for. And in those moments, your own strength is not enough. Your emotions are not enough. Your logic is not enough. But the God who walks with you, He is more than enough. Hear this with your spirit. You may not know what today holds, but God does. And He equips His children not according to the size of their fear, but according to the size of His power. That means there is no battle ahead of you today that heaven hasn't already prepared you to win. There is no attack forming against you that God hasn't already placed protection around. The enemy may plot, but God always sees first. The enemy may scheme, but God always shields. Many of the battles you face aren't physical, they're internal. The battle in the mind, the tension in the heart, the worry that rises when no one else can see it. These are the unseen battles that wear people down. And yet, when God walks with you, even the silent wars inside you must bow to His presence. He strengthens you in places others will never notice. He fortifies you in moments others will never understand. He gives you courage when anxiety tries to tighten its grip. He gives you clarity when confusion tries to cloud your thinking. He gives you peace when everything around you tries to steal your calm. I want you to understand this. God doesn't give strength when the battle starts. He gives strength before it begins. He places a shield around your spirit long before the arrows are released. He prepares your heart before the challenge ever reaches you. And that is why your morning prayer matters so deeply. When you invite God to walk with you, you are stepping into the day with divine armor, heavenly reinforcement, and supernatural insight you could never produce on your own. Imagine stepping into a situation that would normally intimidate you, but this time you feel steady. Imagine facing a person who once made you anxious, but this time your heart is calm. Imagine encountering a problem that would usually overwhelm you, but now you stand with confidence, not because the problem is smaller, but because the one walking beside you is greater. This is what happens when you recognize that God's strength is not reactive. It is proactive. It goes ahead of you. It surrounds you. It empowers you. And while the battles may be unseen to you, they are never unseen to Him. And while the battles may be unseen to you, they are never unseen to Him. And that truth leads us into something just as powerful, something that determines whether you face the day reactive or victorious, the power of a surrendered morning. You see, strength is not only something God provides, it's something you position yourself to receive. And that positioning begins the moment you choose surrender, not the kind of surrender the world imagines, weakness, defeat, resignation, but a holy surrender that says, Lord, I release my plans, my assumptions, my fears, and even my timeline. I give you the first breath of my morning and the first direction of my day. Surrender is not losing control. It is giving control to the one who sees the entire path at once. When you hold tightly to your own plans, you limit yourself to your own vision. But when you open your hands in the quiet of the morning and say, "Lead me," you are stepping into a freedom that only heaven can give. You are no longer trying to predict the day. You are trusting the one who has already prepared it. Let me tell you something deeply important. Morning prayer is not a ritual. It's not just another item to check off your list. Morning prayer is alignment. It is the moment when heaven becomes your compass and the voice of God becomes your guide. It is the moment when you decide to follow His footsteps instead of expecting Him to endorse yours. There are people who wake up and rush into the day with their minds already crowded, worries waiting, tasks pressing, questions shouting, and they wonder why the day feels heavy. They wonder why fear grows louder, why confusion rises, why peace slips through their fingers. But everything changes when the first moments of the morning belong to God. Picture this: before the phone rings, before messages flood in, before responsibilities stack up, you pause, you breathe, you offer your day to the Lord and invite Him to direct it. That one act of surrender becomes the anchor that steadies every moment that follows. And you know what happens when you surrender your morning? You silence the chaos, you disarm the enemy, you calm the anxiety, you set the atmosphere of your own soul before the world tries to set it for you. You begin the day not with pressure, but with purpose, not with noise, but with clarity, not with fear, but with confidence. When you pray, Lord, write the story of my day, you are declaring that you trust His wisdom more than your plans, His timing more than your schedule, and His strength more than your own abilities. And that kind of trust invites God to do what only He can do: turn ordinary moments into divine appointments, turn interruptions into direction, turn obstacles into opportunities. And hear me, when you surrender your morning, you're not just aligning your day, you're aligning your heart. You're shifting from striving to resting, from controlling to trusting, from reacting to following. You are placing your life in hands that have never failed you and never will. That is the power of a surrendered morning. It prepares you not only for the battles you expect, but for the victories you didn't see coming. For the victories you didn't see coming. And that leads us straight into another truth that is absolutely essential if we are going to face the day with confidence. We must refuse to walk through life in our own strength. Because the moment you surrender your morning, you quickly discover something. Your own strength was never designed to carry the weight you've been trying to lift. There is a quiet exhaustion many people live with, and they often misinterpret it. They think it's because they're busy, because life is demanding, because the world is loud. But much of that exhaustion comes from something deeper. They are walking through the day carrying burdens they were never meant to carry alone. They're leaning on limited strength, limited understanding, limited endurance, limited emotional capacity, and wondering why they feel overwhelmed. But listen closely. When you surrendered your morning, you did more than hand God your schedule. You handed Him your weakness. You admitted that the day is too big for you and never too big for Him. And this is not an admission of defeat. It's an admission of wisdom. It is saying, Lord, I know you can do what I cannot. I know you see what I cannot see. I know you can carry what I cannot carry. And that confession opens the door to supernatural strength, because human strength will carry you only until the next problem appears. Human strength will steady you only until the next pressure rises. Human strength will encourage you only until the next disappointment arrives. But divine strength, divine strength will carry you through valleys you didn't expect, storms you didn't choose, and battles you didn't anticipate. Divine strength doesn't run out when you get tired. It increases when you get tired. Divine strength doesn't collapse under weight. It conquers under weight. There are moments in your day when a conversation drains you, moments when a decision scares you, moments when an unexpected situation shakes you. And if you're relying on your own strength, those moments feel like mountains. But when God walks with you, when His strength becomes your source, those mountains shrink into manageable hills. Those fears lose their authority. Those pressures lose their power. Let me make this personal. God never intended you to face the day self-powered. You weren't created to rely on your own emotions to stabilize you, your own logic to guide you, or your own energy to sustain you. You were created to walk in partnership with the Almighty, to lean on His strength, to draw from His wisdom, to rest in His assurance. And here's the beautiful part. When you stop relying on yourself, something incredible happens. Peace increases. Clarity sharpens. Anxiety loosens its grip. Decisions become lighter. And the very atmosphere around you changes, not because the day is easier, but because you're no longer carrying it alone. This is why the morning surrender matters. It's why inviting God into your day is not optional, it's essential. It breaks the illusion of self-sufficiency and replaces it with holy dependence. It shifts your focus from how strong you are to how strong He is. And when your strength runs out, and it will, His strength steps in without hesitation, without limitation, without exhaustion. You don't have to be enough when the one walking beside you is more than enough. His strength steps in without hesitation, without limitation, without exhaustion. And that brings us to something I need you to truly grasp, because it determines not just how you start your day, but how you walk through it, how you finish it, and how deeply it transforms you. You must understand why staying with this message fully, completely, attentively is not just helpful, but absolutely necessary. Because we are not talking about a morning routine or a spiritual habit. We are talking about a life-changing awareness that God desires not merely to bless your day, but to walk every step of it with you. Most people hear a message like this and catch a piece of it. They grab a sentence, they nod at a moment, they hold on to one encouraging line, but they never let the truth soak so deeply that it reshapes the way they live. And I don't want that for you. I want you to listen, really listen, because this message is not meant to inspire you for a moment. It is meant to realign your spirit for the entire day, the entire week, the entire season of life you're in right now. You see, everything we've talked about, inviting God to walk with you, receiving strength for unseen battles, surrendering your morning, refusing to rely on your own power, all of it leads to one profound reality. When God walks with you, your day becomes different, not slightly different, not marginally improved, radically different, miraculously different, heaven touched and heaven directed different. And that is why you must stay with this message, not because of the words, but because of the transformation they carry. Think about it. How many days have slipped past you where you walked in your own thoughts, your own stress, your own rhythm, your own worries, and by the time you realized you were overwhelmed, the day was already gone? How many moments could have been peaceful instead of pressured, joyful instead of draining, victorious instead of confusing, if only you had walked with God instead of ahead of Him, or worse, without Him? That is why I need you to stay in this message until it settles, until it becomes more than something you heard, until it becomes something you live. Because when you listen deeply, when you absorb this truth fully, you begin to walk differently. You wake up differently. You respond differently. You carry yourself with a quiet confidence that doesn't come from personality or positivity. It comes from presence. The presence of the one who walks ahead of you, beside you, and behind you. And let me tell you something that may surprise you. The enemy fears a believer who understands this. He fears a believer who starts the day with surrender, who refuses to rely on their own strength, who knows their battles are seen by God before they ever appear. He fears a believer who doesn't just pray, but walks with the one who answers the prayer. And that is why these truths must reach your heart in fullness, not fragments. Because the more you grasp them, the less room fear has. The more you internalize them, the less anxiety can control you. The more you live by them, the more your day becomes a testimony of God's companionship rather than a record of your exhaustion. So stay with these truths. Let them settle into your spirit. Let them guide your steps. Let them lift your perspective. You don't just need a message today, you need transformation today. And transformation begins when you allow truth to shape the way you walk moment by moment, step by step, all throughout the day.